Dear students, my name is Noshi Nazami and I'm back with you to discuss another topic under the theory of marginal productivity, and that is demand of a firm for several variable factors. So how do we understand a firm's hiring decision for labor if labor is not the only variable factor, rather there may be other variable factors of production present also. So when there are more than one variable factors of production, we cannot derive the demand curve of labor using the approach of value of marginal product of labor. So we need to understand the process through which the demand of a firm can be understood. What happens through several variable factors is that when the price of supposingly one of the factor of production decreases, there are changes in the quantity demanded not only for that factor of production but also for others. So supposingly we have three variable factors of production, say land, labor and capital. So if labor is becoming cheaper because the wage rate is falling, uh, the impact of a firm's decision making would not only be on increasing the quantity of labor, but there is a possibility that the firm may choose to change the quantity of land and capital also in accordance to the usage of labor. So basically, if labor has to be used more because it is becoming cheaper, a firm may also require extra land. A firm may also require extra capital. So it can use those savings, the savings which it is getting by decreasing wage rate on buying, say, more land and more capital. So in the case of several variable factors, there is a possibility that the quantities of all variable factors change when one of the factor of production becomes cheaper. Now we will try to understand this entire topic with the help of diagrams. So in this diagram you can see that initially the firm is producing profit maximizing output, which is given by the isoquant x1, and the combination of factors of production which are being used to produce this output are labor and capital. You also see AB isocost line, and the slope of this isocost line is given by the ratio of wage and rental rate of capital. Now let us assume that the wage rate has fallen. What would happen? If the wage rate falls, the isocost line given by AB would now shift to AB dash. And this shift is basically indicating that the firm is now willing to hire more labor because it has become cheaper. So originally the equilibrium was at E1. The point E1 was showing the equilibrium because isoquant x1 was tangent on isocost line AB at that point, and E1 level of output, or you can say the x1 level of output at point E1 was being produced by K1 units of capital and L1 units of labor. Now we have got a new isocost line indicated by AB dash. At AB dash x2, isoquant is tangent at point E2, and this much level of output is being produced by quantities K2 and L2. So basically this diagram shows that using the same expenditure, firm can now produce higher level of output, which is being denoted by x2. And this result is being derived by the tangency of the new isoquant line, isoquant curve on the AB isocost line. Now the movement from E1 to E2 can be understood in detail in this manner. For that we are going to split the movement from E1 to E2 into in more detail. So you can see that we have got a new isocost line which is being highlighted in yellow color, and this new isocost line, which has not been named, is tangent to the original isoquant at point A. Now why have we brought in this new isocost line? That is just to understand what is the substitution effect and what is the output effect of a fall in wage rate on a firm's decision to hire labor. So if we analyze this diagram a little deeper, you can see that here at point E1, the combination of capital and labor is K1L1, and if we are moving from E1 to A, it is reflecting that more quantity of labor is being hired because labor has become cheaper. Now this movement from E1 to A basically shows the substitution effect. It basically implies that the firm is substituting labor for capital. So it's increasing the quantity of labor vis-a-vis capital because it has become cheaper in order to produce the same level of output x1. And this is increasing the employment of labor from L to L1 to L1 dash. However, in reality, a firm would not just stay at the same level of output. Rather, it would want to increase the level of output even if it requires increasing its overall expenditure. So, because labor has becoming cheaper, the firm can now produce higher level of output, which is given by x2, by employing not only more of labor but also more of capital. So the increase of employment from L1 dash to L2, which is corresponding to the movement from A to E2, is giving the output effect. So output effect basically implies that a firm would be interested in increasing the output as well, not just increasing the quantity of labor hired, when other variable factors of production are also present. So in this case, because capital is also variable, so in order to obtain higher level of output, more of capital also can be used along with labor. But would point E1 be the final equilibrium or point E2 be the final equilibrium for the firm? In reality, that doesn't happen. E2 would be the final equilibrium only if the firm keeps its budget constant. However, practically speaking, when such scenarios emerge in front of a firm, when it realizes that one of the input is becoming cheaper, and so by making use of more of this cheaper factor of production, output can be increased, a firm in general may change its entire strategy and may plan to increase the overall expenditure on production in order to derive maximum advantage of lowering input costs. So the firm will increase its expenditure and its output in order to maximize its profit. So this diagram basically shows, you can see that the gap between L1 to L1 dash in the diagram is showing substitution effect, and the movement from A to E2 is showing output effect. So if we have to understand the derivation of demand curve of labor for the scenario where all factors of production are variable, we need to understand the movements from E1 to E2 and also from say E2 to E3. So this movement from E2 to E3 is occurring because the firm is deciding to increase its overall expenditure on production. and this is increasing. So this is leading to a shift in the isocost line. So you can see that earlier the isocost line was starting from A and was ending at B dash. Now the isocost line is starting from a higher intercept and is also ending at a higher intercept on x-axis. Now this shift is basically reflecting that the total cost outlay of the firm has increased, and in general this is a very practical decision to derive maximum advantage of lowering input costs. Also, by doing so, when labor quantity is increased, if a firm decides to increase the quantity of, say, other variable factors of production like capital, then the marginal product of labor also increases. Because here the law of variable proportions is not working. So as per the law of variable proportions, the marginal product of labor declines when its quantity is increased against a fixed factor of production. However, in this case, the quantity of labor is increasing against another variable factor of production, which is capital. So the marginal product of labor would continue to rise. And if marginal product of labor continues to rise, it also implies that the value addition done by an extra unit of labor in total output also would be higher, and it will keep on rising. So whatever is the price of output, taking that information into account, we can calculate value of marginal product of labor by multiplying Px, price of output, with marginal product of labor, MPL. And using that information, we can show in this diagram directly that as wage rate falls from W1 to W2 and from W2 to W3, value of marginal product of labor increases. So there is a shift in VMPL from VMPL1 to VMPL2 and then from VMPL2 to VMPL3, and this shift is occurring as the wage rate is falling. So now there is an inverse relationship between wage rate and value of marginal product of labor. So as wage rate is falling, the value of marginal product of labor is increasing. When we combine the points of intersection of these VMPL curves with the wage rate, we can join these points A, B, C, and we can draw a line which is being reflected by red color curve in this diagram. So by joining points A, B, C, we derive what is known as demand curve for labor when several variable factors of production are present. So this is also sometimes referred to as the long run demand for labor by the firm. So if we have to summarize this entire topic, I would just say that demand of the firm for a single variable factor is given by VMPL curve. The demand for a factor when several factors of production are variable is obtained by the locus of points where shifting VMPL curves are intersecting their respective wage rates. So this long run demand curve for labor, which is being reflected here, is negatively sloped, and this is balancing the substitution effect and output effect of a fall in wage rate. I hope you could understand that how demand curve of labor is derived when other factors of production are variable also. We will try to understand the market demand for a factor in the next session. Till then, all of you take care and have a great time ahead. Thank you.